Hello, everyone. I'm Olivia, and this is the story of how I swapped traffic lights for wild horses, office meetings for sunrise rides, and a city apartment for a breathtaking ranch in Montana. I never imagined inheriting a fortune, and I certainly never thought I'd use it to start a new life surrounded by green hills, cattle, and wide open skies. But here I am, living a dream I didn't even know I had. When the letter from the notary arrived, I didn't expect anything beyond routine legal matters. But as I opened it and read the words, everything changed. My Aunt Martha, who I'd only met a few times as a child, had left me a substantial inheritance. It felt surreal. My life had always been wrapped in the chaos and hum of the city, with its blaring horns, glowing signs, and relentless pace. But tucked inside me, like a secret I had been guarding for years, was a deep yearning for something else. A different rhythm, a different life. Montana had always fascinated me. I had seen pictures of vast green plains, snow-capped mountains, and skies that seemed to stretch forever. And suddenly, I had the means to make that vision real. Making the decision to move wasn't as hard as I had expected. Maybe because, deep down, I had been dreaming of this for years. The city had given me speed, opportunities, and distractions, but it had also taken away silence, stillness, and a sense of connection. So when I signed the final papers to buy the ranch, I felt a strange mix of nervousness and pure exhilaration, like I was jumping into cold, clear water for the first time. Leaving behind my old life felt more symbolic than painful. I packed my apartment slowly, sorting through years of belongings and memories. I didn't take much, just the essentials, a few meaningful books, comfortable clothes, and the things that truly mattered to me. Liam did the same. We both wanted to start fresh, not just with our surroundings, but in the way we lived. The drive from the city to Montana felt almost cinematic. As the miles passed, the landscape transformed. Tall buildings gave way to rolling hills, then vast plains, and eventually, wide open stretches that seemed to go on forever. The sky grew larger, bluer, deeper. We stopped at lonely gas stations, slept in roadside motels, and ate at small diners where the servers still asked your name. When we finally arrived at the valley where the ranch was located, something in the air shifted. I don't know if it was real or just in my head, but the moment I stepped out of the car, I felt like I could breathe more deeply. The breeze carried the scent of pine and grass, and in the distance, rising from the fields, was the silhouette of our new home. A sturdy wooden house with a wide front porch that seemed to be waiting just for us. Stepping onto that land for the first time, I felt a strange sense of belonging. I wasn't a guest. I wasn't a visitor. I was home. That thought wrapped itself around me like a warm blanket. The world seemed quieter, slower, and suddenly more meaningful. We entered the house slowly, exploring room by room. The windows were covered in thick old curtains, and the wooden floors creaked with every step. The dining room faced east, promising golden sunrises, and a large stone fireplace stood at the heart of the living room like a guardian of the home. It wasn't fancy or modern, but it had a soul. It had history. That first night, we slept on inflatable mattresses, surrounded by boxes and unpacked memories. But we slept better than we had in years. Outside, the darkness was total. No streetlights, no traffic, just the occasional rustle of leaves and the wind humming through the trees. It felt strange and magical to be wrapped in that kind of silence. We had left everything familiar behind. But in doing so, we had stepped into something far more valuable. A life we had always wanted, one rooted in nature, simplicity, and peace. Running a ranch wasn't something I could manage alone. Fortunately, the previous owner had built a solid team of workers who knew the land and the animals intimately. There was Joe, an older ranch hand with hands like leather and stories carved into the lines of his face. Maria, the caretaker of the horses, had a calm presence that soothed even the most anxious colt. And young Tyler, eager and full of energy, reminded me of what it meant to love the land deeply. At first, they were cautious with me, a city girl with clean boots and wide eyes. But I listened, I asked questions, and most importantly, I worked alongside them. Whether it was fixing fences, stacking hay, or feeding livestock at dawn, I wanted them to know I was in this for real. Every morning begins before the sun even peeks over the mountains. The air is crisp and cold, and the land is still veiled in a soft, blue-gray mist. Liam and I usually wake up with the first light, not because we have to, but because our bodies have learned the rhythm of this place. It's a different kind of life out here, one that runs not on clocks or alarms, but on nature's timing. Our animals are the heartbeat of this ranch. We have a strong herd of cattle, mostly Angus and Hereford, and tending to them quickly became one of the most grounding routines in my day. Feeding them in the early hours, checking on their water supply, watching them graze in the open pastures. It's all simple work, but it's deeply fulfilling. I've come to recognize each of them by their markings and temperament. Some are shy, others curious. There's a kind of silent relationship you build with animals when you see them every day. Trust, respect, patience. Then there are the horses, my favorite part of the ranch. We have 5 in total: Smokey, Juniper, Blaze, Willow, and Dusty, each with their own personality. Juniper, the youngest mare, follows me like a shadow whenever I enter the paddock. Blaze, the oldest, is gentle and wise, with eyes that have seen more than I ever will. Grooming them became almost meditative for me. Brushing their coats, cleaning their hooves, whispering to them as I worked. It brought a peace I'd never known in the city. Learning how to ride was another chapter entirely. I wasn't a natural, and I fell more times than I cared to admit. But now I can ride with confidence across the wide fields and up the nearby ridges. There's nothing quite like it. Wind in your hair, hooves pounding the earth, the world stretching endlessly around you. Those moments on horseback made me feel completely free. We also have a few chickens, some goats, and even a couple of barn cats that decided to adopt us. They're mostly wild, but they lounge in the sun near the barn during the day and patrol the perimeter at night. The goats are mischievous and stubborn, always testing fences and stealing anything shiny. But they make us laugh, and the chickens give us fresh eggs each morning, a small gift that always feels like a luxury. Our ranch hands, some of whom had worked the land for decades before we came along, taught us everything. They never made us feel out of place or naive. Instead, they welcomed our questions, showed us the ropes, and helped us earn the respect of the animals. Over time, they became more than employees. They became friends, mentors, part of our strange new family. There's a rhythm to life here that's hard to explain to someone who's never lived it. You learn to notice things, how the cows move when a storm is coming, how a horse's ears twitch before it bolts, how the land changes with the seasons. You become attuned to a world most people never get to see. Taking care of the animals isn't always romantic. There are hard days, sick calves, storms that knock down fences, cold nights spent checking on pregnant cows. But there's a kind of satisfaction that comes with every challenge. At the end of the day, you know your hands did something real. You cared for life. You made something grow. And in return, the animals gave us a sense of purpose. They grounded us. They reminded us every day that the simple things, like fresh air, honest work, and mutual care, are often the most important. One of the greatest gifts this ranch has given me is the land itself. It stretches far beyond what I ever imagined owning. Rolling hills blanketed in wild grasses, pine-dotted ridges that rise like ancient sentinels, and quiet valleys where streams cut their way through soft earth. Every direction holds a different kind of beauty, and every day reveals something new. When we first arrived, exploring felt like uncovering secrets. Liam and I would pack a small bag with water, snacks, and a camera, and just ride out with no particular destination. We'd follow the old dirt trails worn into the earth by decades of ranchers before us. Or sometimes we'd veer off entirely, letting the horses choose the way. We found hidden groves with moss-covered boulders, fields that exploded with wildflowers in the spring, and canyons that echoed with nothing but the sound of the wind. There was something deeply humbling about walking through places that felt untouched by time. We discovered the skeletal remains of an old trapper's cabin in the woods, the timbers half swallowed by vines. We found a high overlook where you could see for miles, a place we quietly named the Edge, where we sometimes sat in silence, watching the sunset swallow the land in gold and lavender hues. That view never got old. It reminded me of how small I was and how lucky I was to be part of something so vast. But the land isn't just scenic. It's alive and sometimes unpredictable. We've had our share of close calls. One afternoon, while hiking near a narrow ravine, we spotted a black bear ahead of us. It was far enough away not to feel immediately threatened, but close enough that my pulse thundered in my ears. We stopped dead in our tracks, remembered everything we'd read about what to do, and slowly backed away. The bear didn't follow. It had no interest in us. But the experience shook me. It reminded me that we share this space with creatures far older and wilder than us. There were other encounters, too, more curious than dangerous. Elk standing motionless at the tree line, watching us. A family of foxes darting across the trail. Bald eagles circling above as if guiding our path. Nature here is both breathtaking and raw, and every encounter felt like a whispered reminder that we are guests on this land. In the summers, we'd sometimes camp out on the far edge of the property. Just us, the horses tethered nearby, and a fire crackling under the stars. The night skies in Montana are unlike anything I ever saw in the city. The stars go on forever. More stars than you can count, sharp and cold and brilliant. It was under those skies that I started writing again, something I hadn't done in years. I'd scribble thoughts into a worn notebook, trying to capture the feeling of that immense silence. In the winters, the land changes. It goes quiet, draped in snow and frost, and the paths become harder to trace. But even then, it's beautiful. There's a certain stillness, a sense of sleep, but also endurance, as if the land is simply resting, gathering strength for spring. We learned to snowshoe and even tried riding out after a fresh snowfall. It's slower, more deliberate, but no less magical. I've come to understand that this land isn't something we own. It's something we steward, something we learn from. Every tree, every hill, every animal track tells a story if you take the time to notice. And I've started to see myself differently too. Not as a city girl who moved to the country, but as someone who belongs here now, someone who has grown with the land. Out here, time feels slower. Not because there's less to do, there's always work to be done, but because everything demands your attention in a more honest way. You can't rush through a forest trail or sprint up a ridge without missing something beautiful or important. The land teaches patience, presence, and awe. It gives back as much as you give it, maybe even more. It wasn't all serenity and wonder, of course. Winters were long and harsh. There were nights when the wind howled so fiercely, it felt like the house would lift off the ground. Pipes froze, roads vanished beneath snowdrifts, and we learned to store enough supplies to last weeks without trips to town. But even the hardships felt meaningful. They taught us resilience. We learned to rely on each other, on our team, and on the rhythms of the land. Community took on a deeper meaning here. Neighbors helping neighbors, tools shared without asking, fires lit for each other when the power went out. Looking back, I never imagined this would be my life. From a skyscraper office to a horse saddle, from lattes on the go to morning coffee on the porch, with the sunrise, my transformation was complete. The land gave me space to grow, to love more deeply, to discover who I really was beneath the noise of the city. The ranch is no longer just a property I bought. It's a home we built. A place where every scar on a fence post tells a story. Every hoofbeat is a drum of life, and every sunrise brings a new reason to be grateful. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more inspiring tales like this one, while improving your English along the way, don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. There's so much more to explore together.